That brings us to story number 9 on our countdown, Democrat hoax. Joining me now to discuss is the founder of Parents Against Critical Race Theory and a proud parent to a Loudoun County student, Scott Mineo. Scott, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, in a statement, McAuliffe's team denied it had a hand in this, and the Lincoln Project actually came out saying they were behind it. We'll get to Loudoun County in a moment, but I did want to get your reaction to this, because what does it say about the state of our politics, or those involved in our politics, that they would dredge up the memory of such an ugly day that stained in many ways the fabric of this nation for political gain?
I think it was absolutely ridiculous move. I mean, Clayton Bixby was a fictional character created by David Chappelle. Who'd have thought that they would bring him out into, to such a stupid stunt outside of Yonkins bus like that? I mean, they look like a bunch of clowns. If you really pay attention and you look at what's going on this week, there's a news story every other day and sometimes twice a day with some of these ridiculous things that are going on with the McAuliffe campaign. For example, that dumb stunt, number one. Number two, was a mockery is what it was. Number two, one of McAuliffe's advisors was busted for some racist tweets that he put out. And I think that was just yesterday. So it's one thing after another after another for somebody that's supposed to be by and for the people, and Mr. Pro-Black, he certainly has demonstrated a very in a very poor way that he is just scrambling, and he's trying to use any and every race card imaginable to try to make Yonkin look bad, but people see through it.
Now, I want to drill down on the issue of critical race theory. Obviously, it has taken the media by storm. In many ways, Democrats first said there was no one teaching critical race theory, then doubled down on the notion if it is being taught, why should it matter? Now they seem to have gone back to their original theory, which is that critical race theory in its formal stance is not being taught. Obviously, you know quite well critical race theory, when most people refer to it, is not the actual scholastic study that is on college campuses, but really the colloquial catch-all for just a very simple premise. Please do not tell my 4-, 5-, and 7-year-old that they are responsible for 400 years of racial stress and agony in this nation.
Exactly. I mean, critical race theory is a theory, right? And a lot of times what these people like to do, like Kendi and his band of merry idiots, is they like to spin it into something that we're trying to suggest that it's actually a class. It's a book. It's an instruction. It's not. It's a framework, and it's an academic concept, right? But what happens is underneath it is they cannot hide from something called social emotional learning, or SEL, which is the material, the instructions that's manifesting its way into our schools. They are, we'll refer to them as tenets of critical race theory. So again, critical race theory sure does exist, but it is not a book. It is not a 101 type class. And the information that's coming in through social emotional learning is what is reprogramming and indoctrinating our kids, except they use words like transform, transformative, transformation, and they use a lot of terminology like buckets and groups and social and colonialism to try to really fragment the teaching and confuse the teaching that they're passing along to our kids.
Absolutely. I want to get your reaction to what Terry McAuliffe had to say about concerned parents like yourself down in Loudoun County. Take a listen.
We don't teach critical race theory. It's never been taught in Virginia. This is a made-up racist dog whistle that really Glenn Youngkin has used from day one, and it really sickens me.
Now, to be clear, to the extent that it is a dog whistle, it's their whistle. They came up with the phrase. They're the ones who started talking about it as something that, one, shouldn't be taught. Then, two, they had teachers' unions lined up to say anyone who was accused of teaching it, they would defend them. It'd be very bizarre to have to defend somebody for something that never actually occurred. What is your take here, Scott, before we lose you?
The guy is scrambling, right? If you go back to 2015, there was literature in a presentation that came out by Terry McAuliffe that had those 3 words listed in it: critical race theory. Right, so he can spin it however he wants, and that's how all these wacko progressives try to do things and manipulate the conversation. Is they try to redefine what it is they're saying when people are onto their game. We're onto their game. We know exactly what their game is all about. We know what's underneath the game,
Right.
and we know all the playing parts and pieces of the game, and we're going to keep exposing it and destroying it because look. The largest block of voters in this country is not Republicans, it's not Democrats, and it's not independents. It is the parents.
Absolutely.
And the parents are the ones that are going to flip this state and flip this country next year. And we're going to make sure that when we win on Tuesday, Parents Against Critical Race Theory is going to Loudounize the rest of the country to get this material out of the classrooms and get our country back on a normal track.
Absolutely.
Has to happen.
Engaged parents going from the bedrock of our society to the terrorist watch list. Up is down, left is right. Scott, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, sir.